Welcome back to my workshop. Now it's been a few months since I made a video, so let's see how this goes. Now today's quick project is a laser project. What I want to do is engrave a logo onto a mirror, which sounds like a really bad idea. But let's see how we get on. Now, what's the logo? Alright, so the logo I want to engrave onto the mirror is for a family member who's just started up a new business. It's a beauty business. They've now got a cabin in their garden and they want some sort of logo. They've already had the logo designed and they've given me a photograph of it. So what I've done is I've converted that photograph into a vector so I can use it on the laser and the CNC machine. Now I've already done one thing on the CNC machine, so this is basically the logo. Okay, so this MB Beauty, okay, now this is going on the wall hopefully in the new cabin. This was done on the CNC machine. This was actually made out of an old cupboard door, but yeah, it's very good. Now this is the logo. So what I want to do is get that logo onto this mirror. Hello. Right, so I haven't built myself an enclosure yet, so the first thing I've got to do is get my laser out on the bench, ready to go. So let's do that. Right, ready to rock and roll. As I say, I've already done one project using the logo, so I've already converted the photograph into a vector. But what I'll do is I'll quickly show you, I won't go into too much detail, I'll quickly show you the basic process of taking a photograph and converting it to something that the laser can understand so it can engrave on the laser engraver. Okay, this will be very quick, but basic principles. Okay, so we're here back at the laptop now. As you know, I don't have any screen capture software because my computer isn't man enough to actually run it. So what I'm going to do is video it like this and hopefully you'll be able to see. Okay, so I'm using Lightburn software as always because it's really excellent. Now what I have to do, obviously it's already set up for the laser. The first thing I have to do is go up to here, go File, Import, and I want to import the picture. Okay, now if you look here, these are the images that I've been given. Okay, and they're all things like JPEGs. What's this one? Okay, this is a JPEG, so we'll use that one. Now obviously the laptop can't recognize a JPEG as a burnable file very good on the laser. So what we've done is we've imported our JPEG here. So we've got a JPEG and we need to convert that into something the laser will understand. So we hover over the image, right click, then we go trace image down the bottom here. Okay, and now what we're looking for is an even pink color, which is what I've got mine set to here. So we have to basically adjust these sliders to make sure we capture all of the detail on the image. Okay, so let me do that. Okay, you can see it gradually becomes more and more pink. Now obviously there's a border around the edge, so I've got to make sure I encompass all of the border. Okay, so by using these two sliders we can capture all of the image. Okay, almost there. Just take that off of it. Okay, we got it. Okay, so there's now a pink outline around everything. What I've got to do now is say okay to that. And basically that puts the pink image over the top of this one. So what I've got to do now is separate them. So I'll grab the top image, move it out of the way. Now one of these is the original image and the other one is the computer image. Okay, so let's have a look which one we got here. Right, so now what we can do is delete the original image. Delete. Obviously you're not deleting it from your computer, you're just deleting it off of the screen here. Okay, so now we have an image that the computer or the laser can actually use to burn with the laser. Now what I would do from this point is I would start going into node edit mode, which is over here, and then I can start editing all the nodes on the screen, but I won't cover that in this video. But basically what I've got now is I've got the image that I can use on the laser. Okay, as I said, I'm not going to go into it in detail on this video, but I've already edited this now, so now all the lines are nice and clean. So when the laser actually does the engraving, I should get a nice clean cut. Okay, right, what have I got to do next apart from save this, obviously? Right, let's have a look at the mirror. Right, because this is all a bit of an experiment, I've really gone to town on the mirror. I think I spent about £8 on this mirror from the range. So if it goes wrong, it's not the end of the world, but I should learn a lot from this. Now, obviously, lasering a mirror. Now, that's a really bad idea, because if a laser hits this, it's not going to actually engrave it. All that's going to happen is the light is going to bounce off everywhere. It's going to blind everyone and everything's going to go bad. Okay, so what I have to do is engrave it from the back. Now, the idea is then, what I'm doing is I'm actually burning off all of the paint, which you should then be able to see through the mirror from where the paint's burnt off. But what that does mean is the image I've got to do has got to be reversed, okay? Because otherwise what will happen is by the time you turn it around, if you engrave it on this side, when you turn it around, the image is going to be backwards. Okay, so what I have to do, back to the computer, I have to take my image that I've now created and I have to flip it horizontally. Okay, so then that way, when it burns on here, it's the right way around. All right, this is a case of one simple button press. Let me show you. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to flip this image from that way to that way. Okay, so all I do is I select the image, click. Okay, so I've got the whole image selected. Make sure it's all in one piece, so you're actually selecting it all, and make sure up here you've got this locked, because obviously it's a circle. If this is not locked, you run the risk of it actually distorting. Okay, so I've clicked that. Now all I've got to do is come up to here, and this is our mirror selection horizontally. Okay, so all that's going to do is when I click it, it's literally flipped it. Okay, so now you can see the M is back to front and the beauty is back to front. All I've got to do now is do a trial burn to see if that comes out okay. Right, before I actually burn my first trial cut, I've got to focus the laser, and I'm going to be using the focus thing that I got with this Sculpt Fun. Literally just undo the laser, drop it onto the focus bar, and it should be good to go. Now what I want to do is frame it to make sure I know exactly whereabouts on the paper I'm going to go. Now I'm just using paper for this trial burn, so let's frame it and see, make sure I'm still on the paper. Yeah, that's nice and central. Obviously I've got to rescale it afterwards, but just to make sure it works. So let's hit the go button and see what happens. And I can put these on. Right, so I've done my quick trial run on a piece of paper. I'll show you this, but you probably can't even see that because it's so faint. I did it on about 2000 millimeters per minute on about 20% power. So literally just do a very fine outline. So what I've got to do now is I've got to scale it and position it. So I'll quickly unwrap the mirror. I've measured it, it's 45 centimeters square, but it's got a border around the edge, so I've obviously got to make it smaller, and also it's got some brackets stuck on the back which I'll probably have to somehow take off. Let me get on with that and then we'll be ready to start engraving. Right, looking at the back of the mirror here, we've got a couple of little foam pads which I can just pull off, which is good. Probably be able to stick them back on later on, unless I break them like I just did. We've got a sticker here which I'll have to take off, and also these. Now I don't know whether they're stuck on, but I mustn't break the paint. Okay, I only want to break the bit I'm engraving. Is that going to come off? That's not going to come off. So what I'm going to have to do is make sure when I engrave it, I miss those. That could be a bit of a challenge. Okay, so this is obviously the top. Let's get this off. All right, so I managed to get this sticker off and these little pads here, but I've got to try and avoid these because I can't get them off without scratching the mirror. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center of this middle part, okay, and then determine how big a circle I can actually have. Okay, now I know the center, if I look at my design here, okay, the center is right at the V in the middle of the M. Does that make sense? Yeah, of course it does. Right, so where the M comes down, right in the middle, that's my center. So if I use that center on there, then I should be good to go. So all I'm going to do is draw from corner to corner. Obviously it doesn't matter how much I draw on the back of this because it's all going to get burnt away anyway. Okay, so now I've got my center point. And what I can do is I can scale my design so it fits in there. Okay, so what I'm doing at the moment is I've taken the drawing and I've just selected the outer ring. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting out circles like this and trying them on the back of the mirror to try and get some idea of the scale. Now what I must remember to do is to regroup the drawing before I actually do the final burn. But if I keep on cutting circles like this, sooner or later I'll get it the right size. I'll take this circle, I'll put it on here, and it shows me how big it's going to be. Right, let's cut another circle. Right, so after using tons of bits of paper, which is much easier than actually ruining the actual workpiece, I've come up with this size. Okay, that's the best I can do without cutting into these, which would be really bad. So on the front of the mirror, the final design is going to be about that big. Okay, so that's the sizing. So I've just got to sort out the positioning. This is going on. Right, so I've got my scaling sorted out. Now I need to position it correctly. Now obviously if I get this wrong, the whole thing's wrong. Now luckily I've just found a magic button on Lightburn software that will take me to any point I wish on the drawing. Let me show you that. Now we've obviously established that the V groove bit here in the middle of the M, that's the center of our drawing. Okay, so what I want to do is make sure the little square or little cross that I marked on the mirror lines up with this. So over here there's a magic little thing that shows me. I click on it, it says set laser position by clicking on the page. So if I push that, then push that, it takes me to that position. Okay, so all I've got to do now is move my mirror, making sure it remains square, to make sure that the laser lines up with that. Now what I need to do is fire that. How am I going to do that? Let's figure this out. Okay, so I figured that out. Now on Lightburn, over here, if we go to our Move tab, here there's a little button that says Fire, and when I push that, this happens. Okay, the laser comes on, so now I can just line that up, making sure I've got my goggles on because I don't want to be staring at the laser. Okay, let's make that square, and position my laser dead on there. Okay, so now we know this is in the middle, and when we frame it we should miss those brackets. There we go. Oh, just misses. Okay, I'm happy with that. Right, and I used this button here to frame it. Okay, instead of the square one, I used this one. Okay, so I'm now all ready to go. The problem is now it's 10 o'clock at night, and this is going to take, it's given me an estimation of about 14 hours. Now, I don't know the power settings, whether they're going to be correct or not until I actually start burning it. But 14 hours from 10 o'clock at night is not going to happen. So I'm going to leave this for tonight, come back to it tomorrow, make sure the settings are okay, and then push the go button. All right, but now I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. Right, it's a couple of days later now. I've had to leave this for a few days. I've come back to it and I thought, right, 14 hours to engrave that is just ridiculous. So I've changed some settings and I've managed to get it down to an hour and something. Okay, let me quickly show you the settings I changed. It's only a couple of buttons. Let's try and do some screen capture this time. Right, so if we look at this now, okay, to do the whole of the image, I've got these settings here, okay, set to fill, okay, because obviously I want it all to be filled. Now, if I do a quick preview here, you can see at the bottom here, it shows 14 hours, 38 minutes and 56 seconds. Now that's way too long. Now the reason it takes this long is because if I show you how it plays out, now the laser just goes backwards and forwards. So all the red areas you can see is the movement of the laser head. Now you can see there's lots of red, which means the laser is moving a lot, but not actually burning. The only times it's burning is when you see the black bits. So when it's doing this outside circle, it just goes backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. It covers miles and miles of distance, and it's only burning for a little period of time. So it does the outside circle, then it does the inner circle, then the inner circle. It does all that lot first, and then it finally gets around to doing the words and the actual logo. Okay, and that all takes 14 hours. Okay, so what I've done is I've quickly changed up here. I've changed this to fill, from fill to offset fill, offset fill, offset fill. Okay, and we'll play that again so you can see the difference. Okay, it just generates some files. Come on, quickly, quickly. Here we go. And if you look now down here, 1 hour, 15 minutes and 48 seconds. Okay, that's a massive difference. And the reason it does that is because as it plays out, it basically, the laser goes around the shape instead of going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. So it goes round and round and round and round. As you can see, there's hardly any red at all, because there's no movement of the laser without it being powered up. Okay, so it goes round and round and round, does all that lot, and then it finally gets round to doing the inner circles, then the inner circles, and then the logo. Okay, and all of that lot, in theory, is going to take 1 hour, 15 minutes and 48 seconds instead of 14 hours. Okay, that's much better. All right, let's get back to the burning. Right, so now I've changed my fill settings, so this should now take just over an hour. I've repositioned this. I won't show you what I did again, but repositioned it. I raised it up on some little tiny blocks of wood, but they're not anywhere it's going to burn, because I did hear that if it burns through onto a flat surface, you can actually scorch the front of the glass, which I don't want to do. So I've raised this, repositioned it, refocused it, So now I'll just quickly frame it to make sure it doesn't touch any of these brackets, and then we should be good to burn. Finally, let's just reframe that. Yeah, looks good. Right, I'm ready to burn. Right, I've got that burning now with my new settings. It seems to be much more efficient than it was before. Sorry about the noise. I've got a big extractor going on here to get rid of all the smelly, burny stuff. Right, let's leave that going for a while and then check it in a little bit. It seems like the settings are good because I can actually see through the glass, so this is good. Right, I think I'll have a cup of tea while this is doing. Okay, so this is now done its hour and however long. It's finished, but before I move it off of the laser, I'm just going to have a quick visual inspection to make sure it's all okay, because if it isn't at the moment, I can still go back and re-engrave some parts, but as soon as I move it, getting it back in the same position is going to be a nightmare. So I'll have a quick check just to make sure everything's okay. Okay, so looking at it, it all looks okay. There was a bit over here where there's actually still some sellotape on it, but it's gone through there okay, I think. Might have to clean that up a little bit, but the rest of it seems okay. Haven't missed any details, so I'm quite happy now to remove that off of the laser. Okay, so I've just taken it off of the laser, and it actually looks quite good now. It's round the right way, which is nice. The engraving, it's obviously not left it very clean, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly wipe it down from the other side, but just to give you an idea of what it looks like if we hold it up to some light. Here we go. Okay, so from this point what we could do is we could actually make a box around the outside and have a light on the back to shine through, so it gives you this effect. But I think I'm just going to paint the back, and then that will be, these a different colour than the rest of it. Of course, it's all smooth on the front. There's no engraving on the front. So let me give this a quick wash off on the back and make sure it's all okay. Okay, I've just given this a bit of a clean off, just with some water and a bit of tissue, and you can see where the sellotape was. Let me give you a closer look there. Where the sellotape was, it's actually melted the sellotape and it's not cut as cleanly as it has elsewhere. Same here, a little bit of sellotape, and then down this end there was a sticky label across here and I didn't clean it off properly, so it's left all this dirt here. Okay, so what have we learned from that? When you're going to engrave the back, make sure that the paint surface is clean. Okay, anything other than clean and you're going to end up with this sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly clean this bit up with a scalpel, and then hopefully it'll all be good. Right, my intention was I was going to take this and I was going to paint the back and in that way all of this engraving would be a different colour. Don't know what colour to paint it, so what I've tried is putting bits of paper behind it. Let me show you. Okay, so like this, just putting a bit of paper behind it. That's a yellow piece of paper to see what it looks like. But I quickly found another way of doing it, and it's using paint on windows. Let me show you. So it's just basically my computer screen, and what I've done is I've brought up paint and I've just flooded an area with a colour so that I can hold it up, see what it looks like with the red. Not keen on that. And then what I can do is get to my mouse, change that to a different colour, let's say green. Yeah, try that. Try a different colour, pink. Yeah, so before I commit to a colour, what I can do is I can fill that and see what it looks like. But what I think I'll actually do is I'll leave it as it is at the moment. Then she's got the option, if she wants me to later on, I can convert it into a light box. So when it's lit, it can look like that. Okay, so that's going to be her choice. What I'll do now is just clean the fingerprints off, and then that'll be done. Right, so that's about it for this little project. All I wanted to do was engrave a mirror with my diode laser, which is my SculptFun S9. I managed to eventually do it. I've learned a hell of a lot on the way about, making sure it's all clean before you start, and different settings to save 13 hours worth of work. But here it is. Very difficult to film a mirror because you can just see everything. It's ridiculous. Okay, so I'm going to leave this just burnt for now. If I want to make it into a light box like that, okay, I just need a light source at the back. I can deal with that later on. I'm going to give this to the client, okay, which is Megan from MB Beauty, which is based in Essex. She's on Instagram, which is here. So if you want to get your eyelashes done, she's the person. Right, I'm going to give this to her now. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you learned something. Bye. Now, obviously on my mirror that I've got in the laser, let's do that bit again. And the project involves engraving a laser, engraving a laser. Oh. Okay, cheap mirror. I think it cost me about £8, but it should be. Car outside. Be back. Now I'm just using paper for this trial burn. Right. So I've opened the mirror, quickly measured it. It's about 45 mils square, 45 centimetres. Right, that was bad. Right, my intention was I was going to nearly smash it.